We need to eat the baby.
I have no respect for women who voted for Trump. Okay, I think so poorly of them, and the reason why.
Hey, welcome to U.S. News. Oh crap, let's see. Looks like companies reached a $260 million deal to settle opioids lawsuit. Let's see. This is from the Associated Press by Julie Carr-Smith and Geoff Mulville. Whatever. The nation's three dominant drug distributors and a big drug maker have reached a $260 million deal. That's not a lot, I'm sorry, to settle a lawsuit related to the opioid crisis, just as the first federal trial over the crisis was due to begin Monday. Of course, man, I was really hoping that would go to trial. The settlement means the closely watched trial will not move forward now. Dang. But it does not resolve more than 2,600 other lawsuits across the country seeking to hold the drug industry accountable for an opioid crisis that has been linked to more than 400,000 deaths in the U.S. since 2000. Yeah, but wouldn't this settlement be like a precursor for them to try and settle all the others? The settlement ends only the suit brought by the Ohio counties of Cuyahoga and Summit. Hunter Schnolnick, a lawyer of Cuyahoga County, said the agreement calls for the distributors Amerisource Bergen, Cardinal Health, and McKesson to pay a combined $215 million. Drug maker Teva would contribute $20 million in cash and $20 million worth of Suboxone, a drug used to treat opioid addiction. That Suboxone you don't really need. Just I suggest just researching kratom. You don't need to pay the pharmaceuticals anything. People can't lose sight of the fact that the counties got a very good deal for themselves, but we also set an important national benchmark for others. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Separately, the small distributor Henry Schein also announced Monday that it's settling with Summit County for $1.25 million. The company was not named in Cuyahoga's lawsuit. After the new settlements and previous ones with 5 other drug makers, the only defendant left in the trial that had been scheduled for Monday is the pharmacy chain Walgreens. The new plan is for Walgreens and other pharmacies to go to trial within 6 months if they don't reach settlements first. Polster said the deal with Teva and the distributors was reached very early Monday morning. The judge overseeing the federal litigation had long pushed for settlements that would not only provide for damages for the plaintiffs, but also change practices as a way to make a dent in the opioid crisis. Parties say talks on a global settlement will continue. Industry CEOs and attorneys general from the 4 states met Friday in a day-long session in Cleveland where the offer was a deal worth potentially $48 billion in cash and drugs over time to settle cases nationally. The deal was not completed partly because of disagreements between state and local governments over how to allocate the settlement, which would have come from the 3 big distributors, Teva and Johnson & Johnson. The epidemic has become more complicated in the past decade, with fatal overdose numbers rising largely because of illicit drugs such as heroin and fentanyl. The settlement efforts until now have been mixed. 4 drug makers reached deals only with the 2 Ohio counties, enough to get them out of the first trial, but leaving unresolved the claims from the communities across the country. OxyContin maker Purdue Pharma reached a tentative settlement last month that could be worth up to $12 billion over time, but half the states and hundreds of local governments oppose it. The company is now going through federal bankruptcy proceedings in White Plains, New York, creating the possibility that its settlement offer could be renegotiated. Man, I'll tell you what, they're just going to get away with it. You think $260 million is compared to anything? That's just not. So, apparently, illegal vapes were traced to a California woman who was CBD pioneer. Brad, California. And okay. Some of the people rushed to emergency rooms, thought the CBD vape they inhaled would help like a gentle medicine. Others puffed it for fun. What the vapors delivered instead was a jolt of synthetic marijuana, and with it, an intense high of hallucinations and even seizures. Holy crap. That's... Ugh. More than 50 people around Salt Lake City had been poisoned by the time the outbreak ended early last year. Most by a vape called YOLO, the acronym for You Only Live Once. Ironic. In recent months, hundreds of vape users have developed mysterious lung illnesses and more than 30 have died. YOLO was different. Users knew immediately something was wrong. Who was responsible for YOLO? Public health officials and criminal investigators couldn't figure it out. Just as it seemed to appear from nowhere, YOLO faded away with little trace. As part of an investigation into the illegal spiking of CBD vapes that are not supposed to have any psychoactive effect at all, the Associated Press sought to understand the story behind YOLO. The trail led to a Southern California beach town and an entrepreneur whose vaping habit prompted a career change that took her from Hollywood parties to federal court in Manhattan. When Janelle Thompson moved to Utah to the San Diego area in 2010, the roommate she found online also vaped. Thompson had a background in financial services, and two decided to turn their shared interest into a business, founding an e-cigarette company called Hookahs. There were early successes. Thompson and her partner handed out Hookahs products at an Emmy Award pre-party, and their CBD vapes were included in an Oscar nominee gift bags in 2014. In a video shot at a trade show, the industry insider described the two women as the divas of CBD. Indeed, Hookahs was among the first companies to sell vapes that delivered CBD, as the cannabis extract cannabidiol is known. Now a popular ingredient in products from skin creams to gummy bears, cannabidiol was at the time little known and illegal in some states. The partners started other brands and offered CBD capsules and edibles as well as products for pets. Part of Thompson's pitch was that CBD helped treat her dog's tumors. And by autumn 2017, Thompson and her partner formed another company, Mathco Health Corporation, within a few months. YOLO spiked with synthetic marijuana, commonly known as K2 or spice, began appearing on store shelves around Salt Lake City. Synthetic marijuana is man-made and can be manufactured for the fraction of the price of CBD, which is typically extracted through industrial hemp that must be farmed, which hemp is just the male plant. The female plant contains the THC. Samples tested in Utah labs showed YOLO contained a synthetic marijuana blamed for at least 11 deaths in Europe, and no CBD at all. Authorities believe that some people sought out YOLO because they wanted to get high, while others unwittingly ingested a dangerous drug. What authorities didn't understand was its source. Investigators with Utah State Bureau of Investigations visited vape stores that said YOLO, but nobody would talk. The packaging provided no contact information. By May 2018, the case was cold but not dead. That summer, a former Mathco bookkeeper was preparing to file a workplace retaliation complaint, began collecting evidence of what she viewed as bad business practices. During her research, Tantanea Gustafsson saw online pictures showing that YOLO was the main culprit in the Utah poisonings, according to the complaint she filed against Mathco with California's Department of Industrial Relations. She wrote that while a Mathco, she was concerned about how YOLO was produced and how it was excluded from Mathco's promotional material, and that the labels had no ingredients or contact listing. Justin Davis, another former Mathco company, told AP that the profit margins were larger for YOLO than other products. Her complaint asserted that Mathco, or JK Wholesale, another of the company that Thompson and her partner incorporated, mixed and distributed YOLO. Financial records in the complaint show that Thompson's initials as the main salesperson for YOLO transactions, including with the company in Utah. The records also show YOLO was sold in at least 6 other states, including to an address in South Carolina where a college student said he vaped a cartridge that sent him into a coma. A former bookkeeper also tipped the Utah Poison Control Center about who she believed was behind YOLO, according to her complaint. Barbara Crouch, the Poison Center's executive director, recalled getting a tip in late 2018 and passing it along to the State Bureau of Investigations. SBI agent Christopher Elsholz talked to the tipster, who said she believed the company she had worked for distributed YOLO. Eslo said the company was in California and therefore out of his jurisdiction, so he passed the tip to the U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency. The DEA offered to help, but took no law enforcement action. Spokeswoman Mary Brandenburger said Spike CBD is a low priority for an agency dealing with bigger problems such as the opioid epidemic, which has killed tens of thousands of people. In the end, it wasn't the synthetic marijuana compound in YOLO from Utah that caught up with Thompson. It was another kind of synthetic added to different brands. By the time of the Utah poisonings, vapes labeled as Black Magic and Black Diamond have sickened more than 40 people in North Carolina, including high school students and military service members. Investigators were able to connect Thompson to that outbreak as part based on a guilty plea from the distributor of the spiked vape, who said a woman from authorities identified as Thompson supplied the liquid that went into them. Prosecutors also linked her to dealers charged in New York, where she pleaded guilty last month to conspiracy to distribute synthetic marijuana and money laundering charges. The only brand federal prosecutors cited was YOLO. U.S. Attorney Geoffrey Berman called Thompson a drug trafficker who used JK Wholesale to distribute massive quantities of synthetic marijuana as far back as 2014. She faces up to 40 years in prison. Reached by phone the week before she pleaded guilty, Thompson declined to discuss YOLO and then hung up. In a subsequent text, Thompson said not to call her and referred questions to her lawyer, who did not respond to requests to comment. I gotta say something, though. I bet you she wouldn't have made the synthetic marijuana if marijuana was already federally legal in the United States. So you know what? It's the war. I blame the war on drugs. And if not, all right, let's see here. While YOLO was Thompson's project and she was the exclusive salesperson, her business partner and former roommate was involved in its production, according to the workplace retaliation complaint. Thompson's business partner and former roommate, Katerina Maloney, distanced herself from Thompson and YOLO during an August interview at Mathco's headquarters in Carlsbad, California. Maloney has not been charged in the federal investigation. To tell you the truth, that was my business partner, Maloney said of YOLO. She said Thompson was no longer her partner and she didn't want to discuss it. In the follow-up email, Maloney asserted that YOLO in Utah was not purchased from us without elaborating. Mathco Health Corporation or any of its subsidiaries companies do not engage in the manufacture or sale of illegal products, she wrote. When products leave our facility, they are 100% compliant with all laws. Maloney also said all products are lab tested. She did not respond for requests for YOLO Labs results. Of course not. What they did was wrong. I mean, just smoke natural weed. Don't smoke synthetic. That's just stupid. Alright, I'll see you guys.